Hey there, Phoenixes. Welcome to this week's podcast of Release Your Phoenix. This is Josh Cary I have here with me. He is a fellow podcaster and has a few more followers than I do right now.
But who's keeping track? I have no idea. Maybe.
So he's going to share with us today some of the struggles that he's had on his path through life and to the success that he's attained at this point. And we're going to kind of dive into some of those stories a little bit and uncover some of those wounds and kind of identify some of the tools that Josh has used to get to the point where he is, so that we can get some ideas and just share some experiences. So, Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is that you do?
Fair enough. I absolutely will. Thank you, by the way, Heather, for having me here. It's really neat to, we've quote unquote known each other, right, for a year plus. And we actually crossed paths in person, if I'm not mistaken, in Texas last February or so. So it's great to be under this situation with you. Congratulations. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Certainly. So today I am the hidden entrepreneur, and that's because I spent all of my life, much of my life, hiding all of my power and ability, showing up in all situations of life, seeking the approval of others and putting my known talent, known capability aside for that desire, hoping to get the approval of others. And that gets very tiring very quickly. And I did that for years, hoping people would validate this label that I've given myself as a very young child. Went out into the world, hoping, on one hand, hoping people would disvalidate that and show me differently. But we consciously or subconsciously go out into the world seeking the validation for how we really feel. And that's what I did. And people are willing to validate that for you. Oh, they're willing to play along. I've learned, So now, cut to modern day, 2 children later. Who knew? I guess I knew. And thankfully, they've been my mirror and the one to show me that early on, I see what's happening. I was the child in that circle. And I said, I can't continue to show up in this way under this scenario, knowing all my life what I'm really capable of, but never stepping into that because I didn't want to upset anybody. My goodness, I don't want to make you feel bad if you see how legit I am and how legit you could be because of what I'm doing. So if
I shine too bright, I might make you feel dim.
Oh God, it feels weird to even hear it because it's like, yes, that's what I did. And I didn't want to upset you if you see me doing brilliant things. Imagine that choice for so long. God, how could we justify that? But we did, and we do, and no more. Because then I had the 2 children, and I'm like, well, I've always wanted to be a father. And I knew that I would enjoy the role. Now, given the chance, I'm going to continue to screw all that up and play small and be insecure and needy and immature and depressed and angry and frustrated around them when they are everything that I wanted to be and express, knew I was on the inside. They're showing up in the world confidently and lovingly and playfully and experiencing everything. And I'm like, all right, guys, I got it. You know what? I'm good. Give me a moment. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. You guys continue to do this. I will support this, but I got some work to do. I got to cut out all of this. I got to remove all of this gunk that I've been doing into the world. Just, again, show up in the way that I've always known I could. And now I'm doing it. Who knew?
Yes. Oh my gosh. There are so many things about that I love so much. I mean, first of all, just the idea that we're going out there and we're seeking this approval right? And what we end up getting is a whole bunch of reflection of what we really feel and where our
Mm.
vibration truly is. And we get all these opportunities to shift out of that. And oftentimes it is the fear. And it's so funny that you were saying the fear of shining too brightly, because I didn't experience that in my potential for power. I experienced that in my potential for sensuality and femininity. Women have this issue of, well, I can't shine too bright. I can't be too overt in how flirty I am or how sensual I am or how pretty I am or these different things, because I don't want to make you feel bad if you don't look that way. Or if I have a very nice fit body, well, if somebody else is not attractive, I don't want to make them feel bad. So we have all these ways that we're afraid of dimming, shining our light for in front of other women also. So I mean, I feel like there are so many areas in life where we have that, but you're so absolutely right that, oh my gosh, children are, they're everything, right? They reflect all of this so perfectly to us, just with no filters. They don't care.
So
They
true.
don't care if they blind you with their light, and we love it, right?
And they don't hold grudges, I realized. Like they move on like that. And I'm like, wow, that's the lesson for me too. I can do that
Right.
because we hold on to the grudge, to the anger, to the shame, to the guilt, to beating ourselves up. And that's something that that I've learned about myself and talk about as much as I can. The fact that today, nobody's perfect. My actions aren't 100% ideal in every situation. Hopefully I can express negative emotions less and less, or not as long. But the thing is, if I express or experience a less than pretty emotion, an ugly emotion, something that came out or was triggered, and it's like, oh boy, what was that? Instead of in the past hanging on to that and having that ruin my day or my week and saying, yep, that's the kind of person I am. I knew it. Why? And then playing the V card, right? The victim, which was a big part of it. I found out somewhat recently, in the past few years, as I've went over to the brighter side here, I realized that playing the victim was actually a thing. I was doing that my whole life, but never realized until I heard it that, oh my God, that's a thing. Not only that, that was my thing. So now today, I'm able to, if I get angry or triggered or frustrated and something comes out not ideally, I'm able to quickly move through it and see it for what it is and move on and learn from it, use it, grow from it, experience it, and move forward and live presently and not hang on to that the entire day and get depressed and beat yourself up even more, which is that vicious cycle.
Are you able to go into any of the it's very interesting to me. I see so many, particularly men, who move through these processes, and you guys are so great. I mean, I'm not. I don't know if it's a masculine feminine thing, but you guys are so great, it seems like, at problem solving. I guess that's a masculine trait. Of this problem solving, and just like, okay, this is the thing that I need to do, and I'm gonna go and just fucking figure it out. I'm gonna create this path and I'm gonna do it, and I'm just gonna change what I'm doing. And I struggled for years with that. So I would love to hear if you had any tools like meditation or journaling or anything along those lines that you used, or if you kind of some of the thought processes maybe that you would go through as you're realizing these things.
Yes. Meditation was something I've heard my whole life. I've always been interested and intrigued by personal growth and development. Always, for years, always wanted to read the books and understand and listen to the tapes and whatnot. But until you're ready, you have good intentions, but then you always just fall back. But it was always on my radar, in my interest, personal growth and development. And with that, meditation was always a big word that I've heard. I was like, yeah, no, not for me. It just wasn't resonating. It didn't land until it did. I apparently a couple of years ago, I got to a point where I heard it and I was ready to hear it in the context of my life at that time. And I said, okay, I will, I'm now, I'm going to try this. I'm going to listen to it. And I did. And that was about 2 years ago, like I said. And to this day, I've never looked back. So meditation continues to be a pivotal foundational point of my life, of my daily habits, patterns, and rituals. And I rely on meditation. So that is a consistent, that changed. Now looking at myself in totality, I realize that, okay, I am this person. Let me, going back just a step further, self-awareness was always something that I was always intrigued by, always aware of, always wanted to crack that even further. And today too, that's something that you need to grasp your own version of self-awareness, to really understand who you are, why you're that person, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what you want to be doing. Get from point A to point B. So self-awareness is just something I continue to go deeper down to just learn about my me, learn about my me. And so with that, I said, okay, I get it. Now's the time. That's just putting it broadly with my children who, I said, okay, I really got to make some changes, and they helped make it possible. And I said, let me look at what I'm doing from the minute I wake up, including how I wake up, to the minute I go to sleep and how I go to sleep and everything in between. And like all of us, we have small, medium, and large things, habits, patterns that we do consciously, unconsciously, for better, for worse. And some are good, some are not so good. And I said, well, I can see clearly the not so good ones. Some of them are obvious. I'm like, oh, I'm doing them. Maybe I just shouldn't do them.
Sorry about that. Little technical difficulties there.
All good. So I looked at what I was doing throughout the course of every day and realized, okay, there are some easy low-hanging fruit things here that I could change if I want to make the change. And that's everything we do comes down to, choices and decisions, period, right? No excuses. Everything's the choice or decision. So I said, well, if I want the change, if I want to be better for my children and for myself, I should probably stop a few of these obvious things that I'm doing that aren't serving my bigger picture. So instead of just overwhelming myself, like the obvious example, if we want to lose weight and get in shape, what do we say? We go all in and we say, all right, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm going to eat 3 healthy meals. I'm cutting out snacks. And, you might do that for a little bit, but we know how that eventually plays out. What I knew to do was, okay, I am just going to do this slowly and systematically and deliberately. I'm going to cut out the one thing that I know I shouldn't be doing. And I'm going to stop doing that and really focus on that. And my goodness, you do that and then you feel good and you have a win and you're like, I did it. I could do it and I knew I could do it and I'm doing it. Now I am no longer that kind of person. I'm actually this kind of person. And now that leads to more and more ways to identify and to feel about you and the kind of person you are and the kind of person you want to be and the kind of person you've always known you can be. And then I start seeing those kind of people and connecting with those kinds of people, knowing that my whole life, why do I feel so disconnected? Why doesn't anybody get me? Victim, first of all. But also, I felt so removed from the world and I'm so awkward in all these situations. Why? Because I would deliberately push you away. I would keep you at a distance. I would be all kinds of immature and disconnected from the real situation because I couldn't allow you to get close and then wonder, why? Poor me, I'm the victim and nobody gets me. Now, I've slowly started stripping away all those bad habits by replacing them with a little bit of a better one. And then you have a lifestyle that sort of resembles the kind of person that you've always known in your head and in your heart you can be. That was the case in my case. And it becomes a daily habit that you love. Now I get up earlier and I exercise and I hydrate and I eat right and I feel good and I meditate and I do all of these things that create a better day for myself, which by definition is the person I want to be and always knew I could be. And then it's just a great cycle because my kids respond to it. I respond to it. My professional peers respond to it. I'm meeting people who respond to it. I feared so much of my life when I wanted to step into this, but never did, thinking that, oh, well, these people who keep me in this role that I allow them to are going to retaliate. Should I shine? Should I express? Should I succeed? Should I do? And when I made the choice to say, okay, well, if that's my fear, how could I get over that? And I said, well, I'm going to start, changing those one habits with better. And slowly but surely, I'm going to start finding and associating and connecting with one person, one strong person. So I found a mentor who I said, okay, I'm going to work with this person. And you know what? Even that one person is going to be my strength. So I never shared this with him, but I thought, should somebody retaliate, that's who I'm running to. And I'd say, hey, can you help me with this? Because now, now I'm becoming this other person, this other version of, stripping away all that negative stuff. And then you just start meeting and associating and connecting with more and more people who are you, who are your mirror and reflection. Now today, nobody's retaliated, go figure. I don't even see those people anymore because that's not where my focus is. But I do see, I'm surrounded by many, many powerful, loving, beautiful people like yourself, Heather, who are in front of me, who literally give me that strength. I'm like, nobody's going to get through. You're all standing there right in front of me, all around me, supporting me, saying, nobody's getting through. We got you covered. And it feels great.
That's wonderful. I wonder, as you were discussing the shifts that you would do and how you've incorporated meditation, of course there are so many different kinds of meditation and there's so many different tools in meditation even. And so I was wondering, as you were moving through this process, did you experience shifts in understanding about where these behaviors were coming from, where they may have been stemming from as you were moving through those things?
Yes. And through the interest and active self-awareness, I've given it some thought. And I'm also writing a book now that allows me to indulge and engage in that thought. Like, well, why was I that kind of person? Why was I seeking approval? Why did I spend 15 years in the acting and film world trying to get this external accolade, applause, that, thinking that, oh, that's going to be that's going to be it for me. Enough of that is really going to help me become the person I need to, which, it's such a stereotype, right? You don't get it externally. It comes from inside. And it certainly doesn't come from that lonely, dark, depressing world of entertainment. But starting to analyze that, I got bit by the acting bug in 8th grade because from a very early age, practically from birth, I felt like a disappointment to my family, to my mother, who always wanted a daughter, and this is what I talk about. But I will qualify that and say, today, thankfully, she's still in my life, my biggest fan, right? And this isn't to paint anybody as a bad person. We all do the best we can with what we know in any given moment. She wanted a daughter. My father spent time at the bar more than the office, and my brothers didn't care that I was a newborn who just wanted company and wanted to play with them. So I felt like a disappointment, took on that label for much of my life, and then looked for what I wanted to believe were, I wanted to find people to remove that label and say, no, you are not a disappointment. You're awesome. That's what I was going for. Never got it, because really we try to validate the way we feel. So I just got more of that confirmation. So I sought this acting world. I got bit by the acting bug, like I said, in 8th grade, and followed that path and just, played the clown and was trying to make you laugh. And if you laugh enough, you'll like me. And my gosh, if you like me, you might come right up to me and rip this darn label off of disappointment. Please, who's going to rip this off of me? Wouldn't you know, not only is nobody capable of ripping it off of you, you're the only person that could freaking rip it off. And that's what I realized with my children. I'm like, they're seeing me with this big label. I'm acting that way. I'm showing up that way. And finally, I'm like, wait a minute, give me a second here. Is this, oh my God, and then I take the label off. Nobody cared. Nobody retaliated. Nobody gives a crap. Nobody's watching, right? You
I
made
bet
that
actually you probably started showing up more authentically, and it probably actually brought those people closer to you.
The ones who mattered, the ones who got it, the ones who supported it, the ones who said, hey, we love what you're doing. We love you. Of course, you're not a disappointment. It took you all this time to figure it out, but good. There's no label there. You wore this label inappropriately, incorrectly. You self-identified with it. You went out into the world trying to get the validation that that's accurate. People gave you that validation when you didn't realize you have to rip it off. It's got to come from you. And it could easily come off. Scary, yes, as hell. Difficult, yes, as hell. Necessary, yes, as hell. Rip the label off that you identify with that is limiting, that is just not true. I sold myself that disappointment my whole life as truth. And then, of course, found the people who say, yeah, it is true. It's not true. It was never true.
Yes, that actually, I love that you went into that. That actually, in my last podcast, I went into the labels that we put on ourselves, or that we allow society to put on us, the boxes that we allow society to put us in, or that we put ourselves in, that society actually reflects to us in our reality. And yeah, it's important to take a look at the labels that you've assigned to yourself. And I mean, some of them go deep, some of them go really deep. But all of them you can shed them. That's the beauty of what we are, right? So I don't know if you and I had discussed this before, but really you can kind of let me know how this resonates with you. But I mean, I fully believe that our soul was put into this body, and we came here with contracts of situations that we would experience in order to allow our soul to shed these various veils of belief systems and wounds and things along those lines, so that it can express itself fully and raise its frequency. And so we come into this life with these lessons that need to be learned, these things that need to be embodied, and we're brought people to us, such as our parents or lovers or our children or our friends, and they reflect these things to us in these ways, or in some situations things happen to us that actually make us really embody and feel these labels and feel these, react in these certain situations, these certain ways because of these beliefs. And then eventually we're able to, if we're willing to look at it and do the work that resonates with us toward that, and we're able to shed these things and gain new perspectives and gain new insights and really gain insights into ourselves and really start to learn about ourselves. I mean, that process of self-awareness that you were mentioning is huge, and it was a huge one for me. I went through much of my life not only not knowing myself, but not being self-aware, which really go hand in hand. And the same experience I think that everyone experiences, as regardless of what path they take on this journey of kind of figuring these things out. There's kind of some universal truths here, right? Like, there are some wounds that we had as children. We got to look at those things and figure out how it's affecting us now. And we got to make the choice that we're going to do something different. And the ways to get through that, there's many different ways for us to do that as there are people in the world. But I believe that, we find these things that resonate with us when it's time. Like, meditation eventually came up, and it was just time. Finally, at that time, you're like, yes, that right now is what I need. And I've had the same sort of things come up. There's so many things that I do now for my self-care that I would have looked at before and been like, oh, this is weird. You guys are out there. So yes, things definitely come all in their own good time when we're ready. And I'm wondering, your process as far as, okay, I had this label and I took this off, and can you identify, and I know for me, sometimes I can and sometimes I can't identify one specific tool that I used that was very helpful in that process, or one particular experience that created some kind of a perspective shift.
Yeah.
Can you kind of go into that a little bit if there is one for you?
Sure. The two children I keep referencing because they were the catalyst. I always knew that I wanted to be a father. I always knew that I'd probably enjoy that role, but I also knew that I never would have found myself in a mature enough relationship. I mean, those two words never, clicked for me, a mature relationship. None of my relationships had any level of maturity to them. And then you still wonder. So I knew that I would never find myself in a mature enough relationship on my own consciousness to say, honey, let's start a family. That never would have happened. So the powers that be, God or your version of a higher power, knew the time was right. I was in a committed relationship with my then girlfriend. We were together for a little less than a year. And that September of 2012, she calls me and she says, are you sitting down? And I said, should I? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now I'm sitting down. And she said, we're pregnant. And my immediate reaction was one of excitement. I said, this is incredible. This is great. This is thrill. It just felt right. I was like, yes, this is the way it had to be. It couldn't have happened any other way, right? But at 39 years old, the universe knew, Josh, it's time. Here it is. Your time has come. And it's like, okay, great. And it did. And then 2 years later, we had another child. And now I have these two amazing children who, how this all winds up and continues to wind up. But now I'm in, today I'm 45. And then, when I had my kids, I was in my early 40s and realized in more greater perspective that not only is life short, but it'll be over in the blink of an eye, right? Even best case scenario, I'm 45, best case scenario, my life is half over. Right? If somebody passes away at 90, you're not feeling bad about it. You're not like, oh, how did they die? 90, that's how they died. And it's great. It's like, okay, good. Wow, what a great life. But I also knew that if I just continued how I was going and I lived and made it to 90, I just would have made it to 90 and not lived to 90. And now with the kids around, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, wake up. You're 45, or in your early 40s. It's going to move. The time is now. Gain some presence. Be present and embrace all that it means. I didn't want to project myself forward, let's say 20 years, and see myself now with an empty nest of a house. And my daughter, let's say, is grown up in her mid 20s, and to see her projected into that future where if I just stayed on my path, that's all she learned, right? She'd be needy, depressed, seeking approval. Not a good outcome for anybody, let alone the girl who is my daughter. In that scenario, there'd be nothing I can do, and I wouldn't be able to live with myself looking back on that. But I knew in that moment, I'm like, well, you're still here. There's still time. If you make the change, do the things. And I said, okay, I got to do it for these reasons. And not only have I now embraced the how life, right? Like I said, it can be over in the blink of an eye, best case scenario. And I said, I have to be here for them. So the thing that I now use, and that when I work with clients, this is what I teach, is to answer for yourself the ultimate question. Find your answer to the ultimate question, which is, how would you like to be remembered? And that question for me helped put everything into perspective, because what I found is the reason we take an action or don't take an action, in my case, I used fear as an excuse and justified and hid all behind that. The reason we do that is because we care a great deal what people will think, what people will say, what people will do. And the truth of the matter is, if I have my answer to how would I like to be remembered, it does not then matter what anybody thinks, says, or feels, because you don't have the whole story. I can't go out on a campaign every time I want to make a decision or do something and make sure everybody understands why I'm doing it. So some of the things I do or don't do, you might feel a certain way about it. And that's okay, because you don't know the answer to my personal ultimate question. Don't worry, I got it figured out, right? I understand if it might look kind of foolish to you. The name of my book is The Art of Looking Foolish. And that's what it's about, because foolish is lacking good sense or judgment, unwise. So some of my actions might fit into that category to you, but as long as I've tied them back to the answer to the ultimate question, how would you like to be remembered? There's nothing foolish about it. I got it covered. So once you answer that for yourself, simply make sure that it serves that answer, any action, and that's your guide. And that's what I've been able to do. Certainly my answer has to do with my children. So as long as everything that I do is in line with that service, it's a win, and I can feel satisfied about that.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's amazing. I think again, like it's beautiful for me. Like, I love being able to have this discussion, because your path has been so very different than mine, but there are some of these kind of universal truths that we come to. For me, that same concept was the realization that everyone's on their own journey. Your journey is not going to make sense to me because I don't know the past and I don't know where you're going, and my journey is not going to make sense to you, and that's perfectly okay. I mean, I certainly look quite foolish and irresponsible to many people around me who are stuck in this idea of what success and what you're supposed to be doing are. And I'm totally okay with that, like,
imagine that.
Okay,
You win.
It's not for you to understand. I got this. I know what I'm doing. I got this,
You win.
Yes. I love that. So, well, I think that we kind of covered. Is there anything else that you had on your mind or heart to kind of share or dive into?
Yes. And I'm going to spend my life exploring that and expressing that, right?
Yes, and you absolutely should. I noticed you have a butterfly there behind you, actually. It always reminds me of Mike Kemsky whenever I see butterflies now.
You know what's funny? You said Mike Kemsky, and a a colleague within that community, Betsy, has actually mailed that to me. So I was like,
Oh,
oh, okay, I'll hang it right there.
oh, look at that. I love it. I love it. Butterflies everywhere. If anybody's wondering about the butterfly story, you'll have to look up Mike Kemsky and see if you can find his butterfly story.
Good. Look for a butterfly in the winter, right? That's the story.
Yes, yes, it is. And you can always find them.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much, Josh, for sharing your time with us. I appreciate it so much. I think it's so beautiful just to gain some more insight and understanding on what this path can look like for other people, and just how different this journey can be, and how many universal truths there are that we find within this path. And it's incredible to me, this human experience that we're having. So
I'm finally able to not only understand it, but love it. You know, I always liked people and was curious, but like I said, I would always just keep you at that distance. Now, come here, come on in. Let's
yeah,
connect. Let's
yeah,
see what's what. And it's better. Again, scary, of course, difficult, yes, necessary without a doubt.
yeah, yeah. The art of being vulnerable as well, right?
All
Yeah.
true. All true.
Vulnerability is, it's a toughie sometimes, but it always usually ends up paying off by keeping the people that support you the most, that love you the most, nearest to you. So
Mm. Well, so good to see you shining in this light. You're absolutely beautiful.
thank you so much. I
Yeah,
appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for stopping by in our virtual world here.
anytime. Absolute pleasure, Heather. Thank you so much, too.
Absolutely. And of course, you can find me on Instagram at Phoenix_rising_2019, on Spotify under Release Your Phoenix, and on YouTube under Release Your Phoenix. And Josh, how can we find you?
The easiest and most simplistic way is to go to my website, joshcary.com. And from there, you can listen to all my podcast episodes. You can watch videos. You can read more about me. And you can click through to the social platform of your choice and find me wherever you prefer.
That is perfect. All right. Well, thanks again, Josh. And I appreciate you sharing your experience here. And I'll let you know once this is posted. Phoenixes, I'll see you guys next week.